Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, I'm Courtney, and it is time to see what we had for dinner this week. I am sharing 3 recipes. 2 of these are brand new to my household. One of them is kind of a recipe I've used before. I'm kind of like tweaking it a little bit for something a little bit different, but I'm super excited to share all these. All of them except for the sliders will be linked or listed down below. The sliders are pretty cut and dry. I don't really feel like there's a actual recipe to list for those. I'm just showing you kind of a technique that I do to change things up and make them a little more fun. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into these green chili sliders. So this is something I'm adapting from a burger recipe that I've made before, and it's just for the hamburgers, I would do a can of diced green chilies, and I put it on the burgers with pepper jack cheese and some bacon and stuff, and it's really good, really tasty. Something a little different if you're looking for something, not just a regular old burger. And I thought, sliders can get boring too, just like burgers can. So I wanted to dress my sliders up a little bit, and I wanted to do that. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, man, those little green chilies are kind of slippery and slimy, and sliders are small. So I just don't have a lot of room for error for all the green chilies to slide off. And I thought, you know what, I've got a poblano in my fridge. Let's just make it with fresh. And I think that's going to taste better. And it really did. So I just diced up a poblano and an onion, and I sauteed them in some bacon grease for probably about 15-ish minutes on like a low heat, just to kind of caramelize them and soften them and everything. Oh, these were so good. So fantastic. Now, if I had a hatch chili, it'd be even better, because I think the flavor of hatch chilies is even better than regular poblanos, and it just gives you that roasted pepper flavor. Typically there's no heat to these, or mild heat, nothing too strong, but the flavor's incredible. So here's my slider patties. I buy these at Sam's Club. They're like a combination of, I think it's rib meat and ground chuck. I'm not sure, but they're really good. If you are a Sam's Club member, I highly recommend these. And they do put like $2 off coupons on them pretty often, and that's when I like to pick them up. But they are really, really good. And I just season them with burger seasoning. To me, burgers are simple. I don't want to have to put if I'm doing burgers, it's going to be a quick, easy meal for me. So I just like a grab-and-go seasoning for those. I'm a huge fan of having grab-and-go seasoning blends. I don't make my own. I buy them. I could make my own. I've done it in the past, but typically I just buy them because it's easier. And I'm a huge fan of burger seasoning. It's something I always keep in my pantry. It's great for seasoning hamburger patties, and it's great for seasoning a few other dishes too, because it's just got a nice flavor. But I just season these and then put them seasoned side down in my skillet. We are doing these inside. I do prefer a grilled burger, but sliders are small and they tend to fall through the grates if you're not careful. So I do like to cook those inside. So I'm just going to cook these and flip them and cook them and flip them to get a nice crust on the outside. So typically I'll do them for like a minute and a half on a pretty high heat setting, flip them, do it again, and then I'll give them one more good flip to develop that crust, because that brown crustiness is the really good flavor that you get in a burger, especially if you're doing it inside. You want to get that nice rich flavor, and that's how you do it. So I just flip mine a couple of times, and my pan does heat up a little bit unevenly. You'll notice when I flip these over, and that's okay. I just kind of work with it, flip them, move them around the whole bit, make it work, but it makes for a really good slider. And these were great because we had them for lunches throughout the week as well. I'm sure you noticed there was a lot of patties there. I mean, my guys can go through some sliders, don't get me wrong. I'm the only girl in the house aside from some of the pets, so these boys can really put away some of the food, but even 18 sliders was too much for my guys. They did last for a couple of days, made great lunches and stuff like that, and they're quick to heat up. Now I do mine about a medium. When I cook them, I'm like a medium or so. I don't cook them rare, and I don't cook them all the way through. I like a little bit of a medium just to keep them from drying out. But you cook them however you want to, and that's totally cool. When I do steaks, I do it rare. I know not everybody's like that, but I love a good rare steak, so just me. Anyway, I just put some smashed avocado on my bun. It's just a rose roll that I cooked from the freezer. Smashed avocado on there, the pepper and onions in the patty, that was it. But if you want some cheese, pepper jack is the way to go. Then I served a pasta salad on the side. It was a boxed suddenly salad, the creamy basil pesto, and I just put some fresh diced tomatoes in there. So good. All right, Korean barbecue lettuce wraps. I was so excited about this recipe, and it was good. My family liked it, but there were some things I would change. First of all, I think I'd like this better with chicken. For some reason, I just didn't think that the beef was so heavy in these lettuce wraps. I don't know. I would definitely do chicken. And the meat had so much flavor. Like, it was almost overpowering. So I would certainly not marinate it for very long. And maybe even just consider making this a cooking sauce instead of a marinade. But you guys try it this way because you may really, really like it. So I started off with some soy sauce and some mirin, some brown sugar, some pepper, There's a ton of stuff in this marinade, and it gives it a lot of great flavor, and it smells fantastic. We're going to put in some minced garlic. I'm just using the stuff that's already minced in the fridge. And you can use garlic powder if you don't have minced garlic, or you can use fresh garlic, whatever you've got on hand. I think any of it would work pretty well. It did call for a lot of garlic, so I did put a lot in there. And then some sesame oil. Now, I love the flavor of sesame oil. It has such a nice deep flavor to it. I love it so much. And then some honey. Don't worry, I know there's brown sugar in here and I'm adding honey, but this is not sweet. It does not come out sweet at all. I was very surprised. I thought it would. I'm also adding in some onion powder. I think the marinade might have called for like some scallions or something that I didn't have on hand. I can't quite recall. That might be why I added in the onion powder, but I will link his original recipe down below. And then an Asian pear. We're just going to grate up like a quarter to a third of this. Basically, this is for tenderizing the meat. It works a lot like pineapple, but it's not as strong. So we're just going to grate it up in there like on your microplane like you would ginger. If you don't have an Asian pear, can't find an Asian pear, don't want to pay for an Asian pear, just use like a regular pear, like a Bosc pear, and that will be just fine. These are a little more expensive. I think I paid close to $4 or so for this one. They did not always cost that much. I remember when my youngest Jensen was probably about 2, we went to a Christmas party and he ate some while we were at a Christmas party because it was on a tray with a bunch of cheese, and he was obsessed. So I would buy these, and they were only like $2 a piece. They're really, really big. And this kid would just plow through these Asian pears. He loved them so much. I couldn't believe the other day when I went to the store and I paid almost $4 for this. I was like, my gosh, that's insane. It's just one. Just one. But I did buy it to give this recipe like a fair shot, follow it as closely as I could, that kind of stuff. If you're using a tougher cut of meat, go for the pineapple though, just so it'll break it down a little bit more and tenderize it. I'm using sirloin steak that I've just sliced up into strips. I tend to keep that in my freezer because Market Street puts them on sale, buy one get one free pretty often. So that's just what I have on hand. I think the recipe recommends a ribeye, which would probably be absolutely epic. I don't have a ribeye in my freezer. I don't buy them very often. We just prefer New York strips, so ribeyes are not what I have on hand. But I just used what I had, and it was fine. It was good. But like I said, I think I'd like to try this with chicken. I think I would prefer chicken in this, and I would not marinate this more than like 20 minutes because the flavor was so overpowering on the meat. But I tossed this in my fridge for probably about an hour, maybe hour and a half, and finished up some stuff around the house, and then got some other stuff going. So this right here, these spicy pickled cucumbers were a hit. They're gone. They did not last at all. My son and I were just eating them. They were so delicious. So I started off by adding some salt and then adding in some sesame seeds and then some garlic. I'm using my confit garlic, which I will be making some more of that next week, I believe. So you should be seeing that video in about 2 weeks. It's so simple, so easy, but this stuff is a game changer in my kitchen. I absolutely love it, so I'm super excited to make more and share it with you guys. I am also adding in some garlic and onion powder and some sugar. And then we're going to add in some rice vinegar. I always buy the seasoned rice vinegar. It has like a little bit extra to it. It's what you would make sushi rice with, and you don't have to add in as much extra stuff, but regular rice vinegar is fine as well. I just feel like this one, for the same cost, gives me a little more. And I did have to open up another bottle, so you saw me use 2 different bottles of it. Then I'm going to add in some mirin. I don't think this is in the recipe, but I have it, and I really like the flavor. I bought it for one thing and was never sure what to do with it, but here lately I've been using it like crazy, and I love it. I'm also adding in some sesame oil, and I finished off that bottle and did have to open another one, which I was super excited about because this new bottle is toasted sesame oil, which smells and tastes even better than regular. Oh my gosh, I love this stuff. And then of course we want to make this a little bit spicy, so we're going to add in I'm going to add in some chili garlic crunch, but you could add in like red pepper flakes or sriracha, or use whatever you want to. It is all, his original recipe is all listed with the meat marinade and everything, so you can choose what you want to do. But this is what I use, and it adds so much beautiful flavor and a little bit of spice. Like, this stuff is spicy. I could have added more. They weren't as spicy as I wanted them to be, but they were good. There was some warmth to them. And then I'm just going to use an English cucumber, and that's what I'm going to pickle. This is just a pickling liquid for it, and it's not super pickly. Like, I don't want you picturing a dill pickle because it's not tart like that. It just has a little bit of a kick to it. So good and so refreshing on these lettuce wraps. Perfect. But I've got an English cucumber. I think he recommends some different kind that I'd never heard of before. So I just cut the ends off, and I started off by dicing these into rounds, just because that in my head was what I pictured. But I thought about it after a few minutes and realized that those are not going to fit really well on lettuce wraps. They're going to be kind of big and bulky, and so I ended up cutting those in half and doing half moons, which were still kind of bulky. I would recommend like quartering your cucumbers for this, because I think that would fit better inside the lettuce wraps. Just saying that from my personal experience after eating this. But I definitely would not skimp on these either. They are so good. And after I made them and we ate them, I kept thinking, like, what else can I put these on? So you'll probably see these appear again in my videos. They were delicious. And you know, it's summer, so it's hot outside. These are really nice and refreshing and crisp and beautiful. I don't know if I would add the sesame seeds in every time, because I don't really think they added much to it other than some texture, but these were fantastic. I did not core my cucumbers. I know that I think his recipe says to do that. I did not do that. If you saw my video a week or two ago, I cored my cucumber to make some tzatziki sauce, and it did not make any difference. Like the sauce seemed the same to me, and I felt like I was wasting part of the cucumber. So I'm not coring mine. I don't care if there's a little extra juice in here. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm going to strain it all off anyway before I put them on my lettuce wraps. So that's just me. But you can core them if you want to. Totally up to you. And like I said, I think the recipe says you're supposed to, but I just didn't do that. Anyway, I mixed these all together and let them sit in this marinade for probably about 30 minutes, just so they can soak up some of that flavor. It's really quick. I mean, it penetrates them really, really quickly, and they tasted so beautiful and so delicious. I can't wait to make these again and put them on all kinds of things. Just like the pickled onions. I'm in love with the pickled onions. Oh my gosh, my whole family loved them. We'll be eating those all the time from now on too. All right, over to the stovetop, and we're just going to cook the meat. I'm just throwing it in a skillet and cooking it. I'm not doing anything fancy. That's it. That's all there is to it. I think that I probably could have put this in two separate batches just to get a little more color on the outside of the meat. That would definitely be something I would probably try to do differently next time. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Maybe, you know what? No. You know what I would do? I would keep the steak whole next time and slice it after I have cooked it. I wouldn't be able to get the strips as small probably, but I think that I would like that better as well. So I might try that next time. But honestly, at the end of the day, these were good. They had a ton of flavor. But like I said, I think I would just prefer chicken for lettuce wraps. I'll have to look for a recipe and give it a shot just so I can like test it out and see what I think. But we made the lettuce wraps. There they are. Really good. I just used like some, I think it was Bibb lettuce or butter lettuce. I can't remember. Really, really good. I did end up going back and adding rice to these. I had cooked some sushi rice on the side, and I did end up adding some rice to them because the meat had so much flavor, and that definitely helped quite a bit. It kind of rounded them out a little better. So try adding rice to yours too. All right. Last meal of the week is this Cajun sausage Alfredo. I've never made this before, and I don't know that I've actually ever made a one-pot meal before, now that I think about it. This was quick. This was easy, and it had so much flavor. Oh my gosh. It was good. It was so, so good. So I just quartered up the sausage in like, you know, little triangles, and I cooked it until it started to develop some color, and then I added in some of my confit garlic. You can add in like fresh garlic or garlic powder, just some garlic flavor in general, because we are making an Alfredo here. Definitely want that garlic. And if you can see off to the side, I cooked the rest of the bag of the Rhodes rolls to serve with this dish. I thought it would be the perfect pairing because I didn't have any garlic bread. So those were delicious. I don't think I've ever had Rhodes rolls before this week, but I'm buying them again because they were epic and I love them. They are so good. I did add in, right there, you just saw me add in some Better Than Bouillon, the chicken, because we need to add a quart, I believe it is, of chicken broth, and I don't keep chicken broth on hand very often, so I just went ahead and stirred that in because I find if you're using the pasty kind, the Member's Mark or the Better Than Bouillon, add that first to kind of like cook into your stuff, and it'll break down so much better. Then add your water in, and boom, you've got broth. It's so simple, so delicious. I do that with the granulated bouillon powder as well. It just kind of helps it mix in a little bit better for me, in my opinion. Just a tip from me, you don't have to do it, but it does work for me. Then I added in some frozen broccoli. It was probably about 8 ounces or so of frozen chopped broccoli. I thawed it in the microwave. I don't think it's listed in the recipe. I just had it in my freezer and it needed to be used, so I tossed it in and it was absolutely perfect in here. And I think a vegetable always kind of helps out a little bit. Then I added in 2 cups of heavy cream and a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. It called for 4 ounces, I believe it is, which I think is about half a cup. So that's what I put in here. I did put it in a bowl because I'm using the green shaker thing because I'm out of fresh Parmesan and I did have to break up some clumps. If you are using the green shaker, make sure that you do break up any clumps just so it breaks down properly in the sauce, and it will help thicken this at the end of the day as well. And then I'm adding a very generous amount of Cajun seasoning. One thing I do want to say, keep in mind there's a lot of salty stuff going on in here. Cajun season, the bouillon that you use, the bouillon powder or the paste, are both very salty, and sausage is very salty. So as you're following the recipe, keep that in mind. I was very, very light-handed with the salt, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon, and that was fine. I would never add any more. This was almost too salty, but not quite. It was just perfect. So keep that in mind as you're making this. I also added in some onion powder, which is not in the recipe, but I kept going back and forth between adding in a diced onion, so I just went with the onion powder. Then I added in my noodles. I made sure everything was nicely submerged in the liquid, and then I let it boil with a lid on for about 12 minutes. That's what it looks like when it's done. And I just took the lid off and let it simmer for probably about 3 minutes to soak up some of that extra sauce, reduce it down a little bit more. And the starch from the pasta helps thicken it. The Parmesan cheese thickens it. The heavy cream thickens naturally on its own, and you get a beautiful dish. This was delicious. I recommend this one so much. It was fantastic. But that is it for this week. That's what we ate. We enjoyed this week. It was really, really great. Next week, I've already got some fun meals planned that I'm super excited to share with you guys. So make sure you have hit that subscribe button so you're here, and the notification bell so you know when I put that video out. All right, y'all. Have a fantastic week. I will see you soon. Bye.